Are these people insane? Are these globalists trying to start World War III while at the same time intentionally driving the United States into the ground? It sure as heck seems that way. And Putin and China, by the way, are watching us dig our own graves. This, of course, will completely alter the global world order. And Putin told Tucker Carlson exactly that. Don't you have anything better to do than meddle in Ukraine? Don't you have a wide open southern border?
Don't you have anything better to do? You have issues on the border, issues with migration, issues with the national debt, more than $33 trillion. You have nothing better to do, so you should fight in Ukraine?
Over the past few days, we've gotten our clearest sign yet that the United States and NATO are getting increasingly desperate to hang on to their global hegemony. We'll get into these big developments here in a second, but first, last April, something stunning happened that didn't get any attention on American television. Why would it? After all, it happened in Poland. During a televised address, Poland's president went on the air and shocked Western allies when he said that if we lose Ukraine, this will end the West's golden era. Quote, the defeat in Ukraine could be the beginning of the end of the golden age of the West. In other words, it's not about Ukraine at all. Ukraine is simply a metaphor for the end of the United States dollar dominance and the end of Western hegemony. This will end Western dominance and give rise to a new world order led by BRICS nations. And that's why desperation has now set in like never before. This week, Sweden joined NATO, ending 210 years of neutrality.
Sweden officially joined, and their minister is here tonight. Let's stand up.
What were they thinking? Bullied by the West, probably, to take this position? Sweden just shot itself in the foot. NATO now fully right on Russia's doorstep. That will most assuredly lead to a direct hot war with Russia. As Tucker pointed out, this is exactly what they want after all.
No, what are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia is what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
really?
Yes, of course. They want it anyway.
We have a saying on this show that desperate people do desperate things, and right before the empire falls is when things turn the bloodiest. Look at the fall of Rome, bloodiest time in their history. Look no further than Ukraine. The war is over. Zelensky has successfully killed over 500,000 Ukrainian men after he trashed the peace agreement that he signed, which would have saved those men's lives. Instead, he completely destroyed his country. And now is when things will become the bloodiest. Instead of surrendering, as former U.S. Marine Scott Ritter told me this week, the bloodiest and deadliest part of this war is now coming.
I will make this point over and over again. The bloodiest month for Americans in World War II on fighting the Germans wasn't D-Day, it wasn't June, it wasn't December 44, Battle of the Bulge. It was April 1945, the last month of the war. That was the bloodiest month. As the Germans were defeated, as they were dying, as everything was finished. It's hard to kill a man, Clayton. And a desperate man will fight desperately. The Ukrainians will put up a resistance. They've shown that. There are many desperate people in Ukraine who are capable of desperate resistance, but they will go the way of the Nazis in 1945. They will all die or surrender, one way or the other. This war is over. There's nothing that can happen to change this around. There is no miracle weapon. There's nothing the West can do. The West can cause more people to die. I mean, that's the tragedy of this for Macron and the other European leaders to say we want to help Ukraine, but all they're going to do is guarantee that another 100,000, 200,000 Ukrainians die. That's it.
So Zelensky could have kept what land he had left by signing a peace agreement, but instead, as the Wall Street Journal reports this week, Zelensky is doubling down, demanding more money and weapons from NATO. Now, with the help of the United States, they're going to start to build concrete fortresses. Yes, castles. Just like in medieval England. I suppose they'll start building massive Nazi-style pillboxes like they did on the beaches of Normandy against Allied forces on D-Day. The last time NATO helped build a fortress in Ukraine, it was in the heavily fortified town of Avdiivka. Now, NATO and the U.S. built that. They did all the fortifications and totally made that like a stronghold for Ukraine. And then guess what? The Russians just totally destroyed those defenses.
Russian troops have been on the offensive around Avdiivka for months. And tonight, President Putin has congratulated them for taking complete control of the town.
And in 1 week alone, 2,800 Ukrainian men were killed. 2,800. That's the equivalent of the number of people that died on 9/11 in the United States. 2,800. 1 week. Yeah, so let's do more of that. Are they insane? This week, a drugged-up President Biden delivered his State of the Union address, which is, of course, a speech about the United States of America, but he sure made point to ask for more money for Ukraine.
Ukraine can stop Putin if we stand with Ukraine and provide the weapons that needs to defend itself.
So far, Congress has turned down any extra money for Ukraine. The Democrats in the Senate approved it, but Republicans in the House are using it as leverage for the U.S. border, and things aren't going well. The British are urging Americans to send more money to Ukraine right now.
Britain has announced its package of £2.5 billion. The European Union has passed its package now of many billions of pounds. And of course, right now in Congress, the American support for Ukraine is being debated. And I urge those congressmen and women to pass that bill to provide that money.
And fancy pants French President Macron says the West needs to step in to save Ukraine. That if Russia advances towards Kiev, the West will need to step in and stop him. Good luck with that. France, which doesn't even really have an army. Who does he think he is, Napoleon? So the pressure is on from allies who are scrambling right now to get U.S. involved before a Trump isolationist victory in November. So now the Biden administration needs to move in different scandalous directions, stealing money from the United States military, using our reserves to funnel it to Ukraine. Congressman Matt Gaetz is having none of this.
I was so furious but not surprised when I saw the Bloomberg News report that the Biden administration is now considering draining $200 million out of Army reserves to send more money to Ukraine. We see this attempt to drain resources away for Ukraine. When Joe Biden talked about campaigning for the soul of the nation, I just assumed it was our nation, not Ukraine, and Ukraine is no Garden of Eden for democracy.
And as we reported, the Biden administration is quietly trying to bring back the military draft for young men in the United States. And it's been a great mystery over the past year. Why are millions of military-age men arriving, mostly from China, into the United States with no families and no luggage to speak of? And they're given money and refuge in the United States. Well, I think now we know exactly why. Why is this happening? We know it is because here's Senator Dick Durbin on the floor of Congress explaining why they're here.
Says that if you're an undocumented person in this country and you can pass the physical and the required test, background test, the like, you can serve in our military, and if you do it honorably, we will make you citizens of the United States.
So yes, give them citizenship if they join our military. As President Trump said this week, the world is laughing at us right now. They're watching us collapse in real time unless we have massive change in Washington.
So the world is laughing at us. The world is taking advantage of us.
Bring our money back home. Stop sending it to Ukraine. Stop sending it to Israel. Israel, by the way, a country that has a space program and a budget surplus, they need $40 billion from us? Really? Stop sending our resources around the world. Close our borders for the love of God. Bring our manufacturing home. Bring our minerals resource production back in the United States. Why is it all outsourced? Sorry, I had to go on this rant. I'm sick and tired of it. It's as if no one sees it in Washington. We need a wholesale change right now. Enough is enough.